Hey, welcome back to another ADD's action figure obsession video, and here we are with a tour of my toy room. We'll see how this goes. So I'm going to start at the back left here, and the toy room, the center of the toy room where I do all the stuff that I do, is right here in my little photo area, which I'm going to spoil the magic now. It's, as you can see, the various layers of time here. It's been in a developing process over the last 7 years. But there in the middle, we have my newest kit bash, which is the author Donald Westlake, his pseudo-anonymous creation, Richard Starks Parker, who is a thief in a series of very bleak crime noir novels, which are highly recommended. There's 24 of them. I've read them all 2 or 3 times, and they're absolutely amazing. And so far, this is the closest I've gotten to a Parker, and I think in spirit, he looks pretty close. So we're starting here in the back left in the photo booth, and then we'll pull back a little to the somewhat messy, and yet, believe it or not, recently reorganized and actually fairly easy to deal with parts and fodder bins. So here we have, let's start over here. This is a lot of G.I. Joe stuff, including some accessories that are packed in a vintage 1964, 66, somewhere in around there, wooden G.I. Joe footlocker. And then there's some G.I. Joe classified stuff in here. Some weapons in this Valaverse Crimson Shadows weapons crate, which I have repurposed. There are a few Valaverse weapons in there, but it's also a whole bunch of other stuff. Mezco and Classified and Marvel Legends. And so that's where I keep the weapons. As you can see there's some heads on the two next little containers down, and then under there's some weapons and accessories. And the pinkish salmon-y color bin there on the bottom, that is a whole bunch of Marvel Legends accessories. This basket has the Marvel Legends what's the word I'm looking for? Overflow. There you go, accessories. Those are the ones that I'm no longer able to fit into the salmon-y colored bin, so they're in there for now. I think if I go through both bins, I can probably organize it and get it down to one piece, or one bin, but I haven't done that yet. There's some more storage containers, some G.I. Joe classified stuff, some random bits and pieces that I have nowhere to put. There's my lovely quasi-vintage lamp, and then behind it is all my McFarlane accessories, the 7-inch, mostly DC Universe, or DC Multiverse stuff. There's a view out the window, snow and freezing rain the last couple of days, so it's been very pleasant outside. So moving on from the work table, we have another work table, which has recently been repurposed and kind of just serves as storage now for stuff that I haven't figured out a place for yet. These Hulks recently got defenestrated from the display that they had been in to be replaced by the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which you'll see in a minute. So we got Robot Hulk over here from Marvel Select. Dig that guy. Green She-Hulk. We got Dracula with some wolves. That makes sense if you know Dracula. Got a Red Hulk and another Red Hulk and some other Marvel Selects over here. And Gray Hulk and another Red Hulk. I think I mentioned him already. And some more wolves. So there's that. This is the entirety of my comic book collection. I've been collecting comic books since 1972. And at one point, probably had close to 250,000 of them. And have pretty much purged everything. We're now down to 2 short boxes of the stuff that I just cannot bear to give away. Mostly Alan Moore, Steve Ditko, Gil Kane, creators like that whose work I just adore. Here's a random convention sketch by Chris Sprouse of Batgirl from 1998. Really like that one. Got that on eBay. I didn't actually go to the convention. I've never met Chris Sprouse, but I always liked his artwork on his Alan Moore projects, especially Tom Strong, and I think that's a pretty good rendition of Barbara Gordon. So now we're getting into the big display. This is the G.I. Joe Classified and other 6-inch military figures. On this wooden bookcase in the middle here, you see Breaker on his motorcycle at the very top. And then the top shelf is the actual G.I. Joes from the G.I. Joe organization. So G.I. Joe, a real American hero. There's some kit bashes in here. Here's a Punisher on the far left. You got your Sergeant Slaughter, your Stalker. I'm not going to name them all off. You know, if you know G.I. Joe, you know these guys. I do have a few Valverse figures in here. At left, here is a Steel Brigade figure. And then we have Desert Condor, and we have Covert Ops Condor, and we have Trigger, who I was very happy to recently pick up the reissue of because I had sold off a bunch of my Valverse stuff. But Trigger is right here in the center. Just a great design. Absolutely love that figure. And then that segues back to the G.I. Joe. So in my headcanon, there's some Valverse Action Force guys hanging out with the G.I. Joes. And I think there's about 75 figures on that shelf alone. Interestingly, most of my shelves seem to average between 50 and 60 figures. But for some reason, I was able to cram 75 on there. So then we have the Cobra Army Builders with your blue shirts and your Viper officers and Vipers behind them. I don't have any of the original Cobra Island Viper, but I've got quite a few of the 3-pack Vipers and Viper officers. And you get your Alley Vipers and some other guys, Crimson Guard, Crimson Twins. Underneath there, we have the Python Patrol, the Dreadnoks, and the Command section. And on the bottom shelf, a somewhat more random agglomeration. We got some Ninjas, red and blue, whole bunch of Bats, Battle Android Troopers, and then a few stragglers. Dr. Mindbender, creator of the Battle Android Troopers, my Dr. Viper kit bash there at the center, Pimp Daddy Destro, a few Iron Grenadiers, and Iron Grenadier Bats are in there. I need more of those. And there's Raptor on a flight stand. Then we come to the round table of the Hiss Tank. And that has grown over the last year or so to have the Hiss Tank and the Hiss Tank Crew and the retro Hiss Tank Cobra Commander, a Mezco Destro there in the center. You got your Snake Supreme Cobra Commander in the center. Serpentor, pretty pissed that he wasn't always in the center. Serpentor Centaur, see what I did there? In my headcanon, this Deadpool is working with Cobra because he has the crimson, the red and gold, so that's a pretty good look. He's got the gold Desert Eagles from Valverse, and then you got your Crimson Strike Force right there. Around the back, we got another Cobra Commander in the Trouble Bubble. We've got my time-traveling future Tomax and Zaymot, and a Marvel Legends Red Widow, and what was his name? Metalmouth, I think. That guy in the back there is a Hasbro Fortnite figure. Yes. All right. So this is a new display after that my son put together for me for my birthday, which is very kind of him. And I am extremely grateful. These two white bookcases, which hold, for now, a bit of a combination of things. The top shelf is mostly McFarlane DC Multiverse with that awesome Jurassic Park, Mattel Jurassic Park T-Rex that I wish I had bought 3 or 4 of instead of just one. But then we have the DC Multiverse, a lot of Batmans, trying to put together a Justice League. Really wish I could find a Wonder Woman. Also have the Defenders of the Earth from NECA. In the center there you see Flash Gordon and the Phantom, and Ming the Merciless, being very merciless, as you can see. And since this is mostly McFarlane, we have that Spawn 2-pack, and this Batman and Spawn 2-pack, which I think that's actually the Batman that came with it, but look at that goofy expression. So I put him with a bit of a better Batman. Actually, that's not even the Spawn that came in the 2-pack, now that I think about it. They're elsewhere here, I think. Love this This Joker right here, Flash, your 78 Superman and 66 Batman. John Constantine picked him up recently. I dig that one. The Killing Joker, terrible, awful story by Alan Moore, who has even disowned it. But I like the figure. What can I tell you? And paid way too much for it. And the Red Hood. So you sort of have the beginning and one of the natural endings of the Joker there. And then we have two Army guys. One is on the right is Sergeant Rock, which people have mentioned that he looks a lot like the comedian Sinbad, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. And then I kick-bashed another Sergeant Rock with a Christopher Reeve Superman head to make a second soldier so that Sergeant Rock isn't alone. And there's Azrael Batman. Really dig that figure. And there's some more Doc Brown there at the center hanging out. These are all 7-inch figures. So at the end of the day, that's really what they all have in common is they're 7-inchers. There's the Heath Ledger Joker, Evil Superman, Tactical Spawn, and this really ridiculous looking Robert Pattinson Bruce Wayne. It's a weird figure, but I gave him that little book, and I figure he's, I don't know, stalking through the Himalayas, trying to find meaning in his life. I'm not really sure what the heck he's up to. Weird figure, but I'm not entirely sorry I bought it. All right, apologies for the jump cut there. The other shelf, next shelf down, we got a Radioactive Man, which was a gift from my son for my birthday. I did pretty good with that boy. And these are, I'm waiting for inspiration of the right display to go on some of these rest of these shelves, and this is basically a good example of that. There's a lot of Fortnite stuff here, some Spider-Man stuff, but I'm not committed to that shelf. I'm not committed to any of the rest of these shelves, actually, really. Once I have a good idea for how to fill them up in a way that makes a little more sense. But this shelf has some big figures, some little NECA figures, that awesome Guinevere Black Panther figure from the Hasbro Dungeons and Dragons line. That was as good as that line ever got, along with Drizzt, that is his name, Drizzt. Down here, we almost have a theme. It's sort of Wakanda, like Indiana Jones visits Wakanda. So you got T'Challa the King on the throne, and then we segue over to, I'm not sure what the Elvis MODOK is doing with the rest of these guys, but for the most part, these are the failed Indiana Jones Adventure Series lines, which were pretty good figures, a little too short, but on their own, very good standalone figures. Over here, another sort of random shelf, mostly Marvel Legends, this one. Love this new Agent Venom so much I bought 2 of them. I put a custom head on the one on the right there because I didn't much care for the head that it came with, at least not as Flash Thompson. I'm using it for something else. And so there's that. And that's under there. We got some Python Patrol Trouble Bubbles with Deadpool and a couple of other Marvel Legends. There's a few more McFarlane figures and a Marvel Select Blade. And over here, some of the oldest stuff from my most recent collecting era, back from the 90s. Some 9-inch Star Trek figures with cloth goods clothing. Moving off to the right. Oh, here's, before we completely leave these bookcases, these 4 figures, Archie, Veronica, Jughead, and Betty, are on loan from the collection of my wife. These are her vintage Archie action figures, or dolls, I don't know. Are they action figures or are they dolls? Who cares? They're all dolls, they're all action figures, they're all toys. But these are hers, and they're very cool looking figures, and she didn't have a place for them, so I said she could hang them up in here. Over here in the clutter corner, we have a bunch of clutter. Another Elvis MODOK hiding at the bottom. Bunch of Mezco boxes. And some artwork and another Spider-Mobile. Yeah, there's the other Spider-Mobile that I have with an actual Spider-Man sitting in it. So then we have this bookcase, which I've had for quite a few years. And the top shelf is a bit of a hodgepodge. The most recent change to this has been my concept of an MCU Invaders team. If you know the Invaders from Marvel Comics, there they are. So you got your Union Jack, Captain America, Prince Namor, and the Human Torch. There's the extremely disappointing recent Hasbro Marvel Legends Blackheart Build-A-Figure. Not a good figure. Not a good figure. The ankles especially are what ruin it. He really can't stand up, which is why he's on a flight stand. But it's a shame because that head sculpt is amazing. Love it. And we have the Spider-Man shelf here. Spider-Verse, if you like. Lots of Spider-Man, whole bunch of Peter Parkers and alternate versions of Peter Parker. Sorry for the somewhat darkness and poor focus here. But a lot of Spider-Man, a lot of Ben Reilly movie guys from Spider-Man. The most recent addition to this shelf is this freaking amazing Spider-Punk. Absolutely love that figure. Next shelf down is kind of classic Marvel, Silver Age Marvel. You got your Bruce Banner and your Grey Hulk and your Jack Kirby and your Spider-Man and Silver Surfer and Black Widow. Fantastic Four is back there. I Am Groot. There's Stan the Man. There's the Carnage and Black Costume Spider-Man 2-pack, the VHS with the cell shading. Not wild about the cell shading, but they are good figures. There's some Daredevils and some Electros. Kang and Doctor Doom, and basically mostly classic Marvel characters, along with, neoclassic Hyperion back there. Shelf under that is 33 different Snake Eyes. 30 of them, I believe, well, no, not 30. 28, I think, are by Hasbro. We also have a NECA. We have 2 Mezcos. And 2 NECA, 2 Mezcos, and back in the back, the classic Super 7 original Snake Eyes. But the first row is the stock out-of-the-box versions of the 8 released so far, Hasbro Snake Eyes. The second row are some kit bashes and sort of alternate versions. And then the third and fourth row is just sheer chaos. I have to apologize. They're just... But I wanted to put them all on the same shelf anyway. Comic Core is on there because at one point he was Snake Eyes, so that's why he's back there. Next shelf down, we have Tiger Force, G.I. Joe Classified Tiger Force / G.I. Joe Overflow shelf. So there's all the Tiger Force figures. I believe I've got them all on here. That's the new MCU Falcon figure. You can't tell me that doesn't fit right in with G.I. Joe Classified. So I like that guy. He's on the Overflow G.I. Joe shelf for now. There's a recent kit bash I did of a Jungle Falcon. On the bottom shelf, my remaining graphic novel collection, which is not much. We talked about how I got rid of all the comics, got rid of most of the graphic novels too. But there's some stuff that I just couldn't bear to get rid of, especially Harvey Kurtzman's War Comics and Bernard Krigstein stuff and some Steve Ditko stuff. Along with, I don't really like Star Wars. I did when I was, 11. But I do like the designs of some of the characters. So basically, those are the Star Wars characters whose designs I like. Next, we come up here to my G.I. Joe Classified Vamp and Stinger shelf. And there's a whole bunch of characters on here, as well as the 2 Jeeps released so far on this, I was going to say body, but on this chassis, I guess. The Stinger and the Vamp, or correctly left to right, the Vamp and the Stinger. So the Vamp is the G.I. Joe Classified, or G.I. Joe, that's their Jeep. And then the Stinger is Cobra's Jeep. And I like the fact that, they gave him different windows and different pieces to really differentiate them, even though they're both exact same vehicle, other than, some of the swap out pieces. So there's that. There's 3 figures that I haven't opened yet, but I actually have doubles of all of them that have been opened, so those will probably be there for a while. Getting close to the end here. Here's a lovely drawing that I bought once on eBay, and it seems very fitting for the times. And we have the X-Men section. And this is the primary X-Men shelf. A lot of Deadpool, a lot of Wolverine, Professor X, Cable, Nightcrawler. I used to have a much bigger X-Men collection, but purged that. There's a few more down here. The Love Triangle 3-pack. My MCU Professor X, which I absolutely adore that figure. I gave him a fedora from Indiana Jones. Sorry, these are so hard to see. This shelf is very dark. Dracula, Thanos, the beautiful Kazar, and Zabu. Build-A-Figure. And then these last 2 shelves are kind of a catch-all. Maybe did I say last 2? Maybe I meant last 3. Lost my count. There's my Tracksuit Mafia, my Mad Scientists, my Gray Agency, and a few AIM figures. Real MODOK, not Elvis MODOK. And my Enid high fashion doll, based on the Dan Clowes character, Enid Coleslaw. Moving on. My favorite comic book cover of all time, Amazing Fantasy 15, penciled by Jack Kirby and inked by, I think it was inked by Steve Ditko. I could be wrong. So, here's the Avengers Tower. Give you the full, that's why it's a tower. Here is the regular Avengers, and this is all loosely defined, but regular Avengers. West Coast Avengers, including the 5-pack that my wife gave me for my birthday. Thank you, honey. And then Hydra, and the Defenders, and the Asgard shelf. Over here is the new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shelf, featuring a whole bunch of kit bashes, including Jasper Sitwell and Gabe Jones, and a bunch of other cool S.H.I.E.L.D. characters. Use your imagination. It took me buying 2 of the S.H.I.E.L.D. 3-packs to really make this work, plus a bunch of the Commander Rogers figures as sort of soldier bodies. There's the Mezco shelf. Again, I used to have 3 or 4 times as many of these, but purged that, so there's not that many Mezcos left. But from the right, we have Bishop, John Constantine, Iron Man, Wolverine, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Firefly, Storm Shadow, Destro, which is a way underrated figure. Absolutely beautiful, and you can get it for about $60. Roadblock, too short, but otherwise a great figure. And, of course, the Man of Steel, Superman. Then we are back to where we started, at the photo booth. So this, I'll give you the 360. This is the toy room. This is where I keep all my stuff. And when I was 10, 12 years old, if you had told me one day that I'd be standing in the middle of this room and just be surrounded by so much stuff that I enjoy, I wouldn't have believed you, because I wouldn't have thought such a thing possible. But I am grateful to my wife and everybody else that has helped make it possible. And hopefully there's more to come on this channel. I thank you for taking the time to watch the tour. And I'll talk to you again next time.